All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Lottery Sunday, the NBA Draft Lottery dropping on Mother's Day. I hope all the mothers in your lives have had a great Sunday. Find it very inconvenient in the league to do this on Sunday. We are waiting to see which teams end up with Alexander Sarr. Not exactly the sexiest NBA draft lottery today, but there are some fun storylines. For me, this draft lottery, it's all about maybe the Raptors. I think the things I'm most excited to see are the Raptors going to keep their top 6 protected pick, essentially a coin flip. They lost so many games in a row. I can't remember what it was. They lose 19 games in a row near the end of the year, tanking out for a 50% chance of keeping their pick. If they don't keep their pick, otherwise it goes to the Spurs. I think maybe some of the longer shots are interesting too. Like the Rockets, they have the unprotected Nets pick. They have a 20% chance of being top 4. I mean, a decent chance, like 7% chance or so of ending up with the first pick from the Nets as part of the Harden trade. That's pretty funny to me. The Jazz actually have kind of remote chance, but like the Jazz could actually fall out of the top 10, lose their pick for the Derek Favors salary dump. Like the Thunder could end up with that pick. The Thunder also, they can jump all the way up and end up possibly with a super high pick. And that would be, of course, I don't know, seems a little bit unfair. Also, I believe my understanding is the Thunder could also kind of end up with nothing. But like the Thunder have a 7% chance of taking that Rockets pick and moving up into the top 4. That would be pretty funny. Also, here's the thing I want the least to happen, I think. I mean, that's just, I'm a hater. There's no, like, especially like karmic reason why we should cheer against this. But the Warriors, they owe their pick to the Trailblazers unless it jumps up. And they have a 3.5% chance, like a 1 in 30 chance at hitting that. And I think that would be pretty funny if the Warriors ended up top 4 in this draft. When I look at like deserving teams, as I keep burning time until the actual lottery drawing starts. By the way, you have to sync your screens. I'm sorry about that. The Playback community does not have rights yet to pregame stuff. They have rights to the NBA games, but the NBA doesn't want people viewing the actual lottery broadcast. So sync up your ABC, your broadcast. Nothing's happened yet. But anyways, as we wait for the drawings, I normally think about the teams which most deserve to win the lottery this year, and I am hard-pressed to name any of the top teams that deserve to win based on my own personal ethos, my belief in the basketball gods, my belief in playing the right way and actually trying to win basketball games. Like, for me, the only teams that deserve to win the lottery this year are the long shots, the teams that went for it, maybe in spite of future success. Like a team like the Bulls, who has the 11th worst odds. I'm cheering for the Bulls. I'm also cheering for the Hawks. Like the Hawks were horrible, but like they didn't shut anybody down. I mean, they made the play-in, of course. Both those teams made the play-in. I would like to see them jump up. The rest of the teams, I mean, like, are we going to reward the Pistons? I mean, maybe you could say the Pistons were just so horrific. They didn't do anything wrong. They tried to be good. They spent all that money on Monty Williams. They tried to be good. They were just horrible. So, like, maybe I can have some sympathy for the Pistons, who have the best odds at finishing with the top pick, tied with the Wizards. And so, like, Pistons, Wizards, like the Wizards didn't do anything egregiously wrong. They were just horrible. Jordan Poole was horrible. I mean, Denny Abdi is their best player, right? Kyle Kuzma? I don't know. Like, that team's just no good. So maybe the Wizards could win the top pick. That doesn't bother me at all. The Hornets, don't love the Hornets. Not a huge fan of the Miles Bridges decision to keep him around. Like, they've had bad injury luck with LaMelo, but like for me, Miles Bridges makes that, all right, they're not playing things the right way. They don't deserve a karmic win. The Trailblazers, Jeremy Grant hasn't played a game in April in 4 seasons? The Trailblazers tank the second half of the year now for 3 straight years. They don't deserve it. The Spurs, I've seen some people saying like the Spurs, like nothing wrong with them, upstanding NBA organization. The Spurs won 22 games 2 years ago, drafted Victor Wembanyama, and won 0 more games. That is a heinous basketball crime. To win 22 games with Victor Wembanyama is malpractice. So they don't get it. Next best odds is the Raptors. I've already spelled out the Raptors thing. They tanked so hard to end up with a 50-50 shot of keeping their pick. All right, the 7th best odds, my team, the Memphis Grizzlies. I want the Memphis Grizzlies to jump up. I think you could make the argument they had a lot of bad luck with all the injuries. Ja Morant injury, that's bad luck. Desmond Bane injury, Marcus Smart injury, that's some bad luck. Steven Adams out for the year, that's probably bad luck. But also, like, Desmond Bane could have come back and played. Marcus Smart could have come back and played. They did a lot of injury shenanigans down the stretch, not playing their players at all. And like, one of the reasons they were horrible, yes, it's injuries, but like Ja Morant was suspended the first 25 games. I think that was kind of a self-inflicted wound. So I don't feel like there's a lot of karma maybe on the Grizzlies side. The next team up, the Jazz, the 8th best odds. All right, the Jazz, I don't know what they're doing as an organization. They've now tanked out. They've done like soft tanks each of the last few seasons. They're burning through Larry Markkanen's prime. And they could have, I think, made the play-in each of the last 2 years, right? But they shut their team down, hoping they can end up with every year the 8th, 9th, or 10th pick. That's just odd to me. And then beyond that, yeah, I don't feel any of the top 8 teams in this lottery have great odds to win. By the way, right now on the ABC broadcast, they're listing Jonathan Givony's top 5 draft prospects. He has Risike, which I'm not sure how you say it, Zachary Risike first. I've heard some people who are totally out on that guy. They think he shouldn't go top 10 at all. I mean, it's going to be a draft where there's no consensus top 1. So like, I feel like Alex Sarr is the closest thing we have to consensus. Like Donovan Clingan is jumping up, is at least rising. I feel like in a lot of people's draft boards as far as being a safe option. This is wild. So on the ABC broadcast, all these guys are here. They have Reed Shepherd, Rob Dillingham at the lottery. That's wild to me. The drama of, hey, what do you guys can end up? Although honestly, you're still not gonna know where you go. I mean, if it goes to order and it's like Pistons, Wizards, Hornets, Trailblazers, Spurs, 1 through 5. I mean, Reed Shepherd's not going to know, I'm going to end up here. I guess, good for these guys getting a free trip to Chicago? I think we're in Chicago. This is also a funny year where there's a legitimate, I don't know if it's a groundswell, but there's a legitimate argument for some teams when they're really staring at the salary slots for the top 10 picks, where there's some thought that like, hey, having the 8th or 9th pick might be a little bit better than the 4th pick. Is like, do you really want to pay whoever it is? Do you want to pay a guy who might not end up being any good? Like that 4-year, $30 million deal you got to pay a top 4 pick? Like, what if these guys all end up being very subpar? I mean, I think maybe it's a fringe element saying that, but that's not an argument I'd heard before. Like, the Grizzlies will pay less luxury tax if they stay at 7, 8, or fall to 9, as opposed to jumping up. So one of the things that I've had a conversation with people recently, especially the Fast Break Breakfast Patreon supporters, talking about the location of this lottery drawing. Mother's Day Sunday, not good for planning weird get-togethers at a bar. Tuesday night, I feel like was great for hangouts, but like, could we move the lottery closer to draft night? And or what if we moved it to draft night? Where like, all right, you got all the guys right here, Klingon and Dillingham and tiny Reed Shepard. Looking at Reed Shepard right now, if you guys tune into ABC, that's a small little fella. I'm supposed to take him top 5. So that's Stephen Castle, defensive hustle player, a highly recruited high school player, maybe more so than like Reed Shepard, but apparently this is the thing I've ingested and when I'll regurgitate. Bought in totally on the UConn system. Did not need to be a guy with the ball in his hands all the time because he highly valued winning basketball. So we are 11 minutes into the broadcast. Of course, they stretched us out over 30 minutes. I assume we're going to get the first commercial break where we, or the first drawing where we go through 14 through 5 to figure out the excitement of who the top 4 is. I assume that's coming up in like 5 to 7 minutes. Anybody in the chat, feel free to weigh in on things you're looking forward to, things you're cheering against specifically. I mean, like, there's been other years where I was like, you know, like last year, you're like, oh, I really hope Victor Wembanyama doesn't go to the West or the Southwest Division. Whoops. This year, I don't know what you're supposed to cheer for. I guess, again, as like a fan of a team in the Western Conference, I would prefer it if the Thunder don't end up with 2 high lottery picks, which I believe there's a significant, no, maybe there's a chance of that occurring. I would say my top rooting goals to repeat. I want the Raptors to lose their pick, even though I have generally warm feelings towards that franchise. I was cheering for them so hard when Marc Gasol went there when they won the title. But for their tanking, I think it'd be funny if they lost their pick, even if that does mean the Spurs can end up with the 7th or 8th pick. I wouldn't mind it, even though it might hurt my team. I wouldn't mind it if the Nets gave away the number 1 overall pick. Any team giving away the number 1 overall pick, even if it is in a year where there's not a super high profile, obvious number 1 selection, is pretty funny to me. All right. So now if you're watching the broadcast on ABC, they have just brought the players and or team representatives up on stage. Oh, and they're now throwing it to commercial. So that's no good. They let the people on the dais take their spots, which means the lottery, of course, is imminent. So apparently Kevin O'Connor has Reed Shepard, number 1 in one of his mocks. I guess that it seems like Reed Shepard would not be number 1 on his overall board. Maybe that was a team specific selection based on, you know, who ends up first. I feel like if the Pistons end up first and they end up with Alex Sarr, it's just another murky front court option. I mean, Sarr and Duran, okay. And also Isaiah Stewart. I don't know if that's a good idea. I kind of want the Hawks to jump up and get Sarr, so then maybe they'll trade a Congo to the Grizzlies. That's my very biased opinion there. Yeah, Mike saying in the chat, is it just me or does it feel like none of these players really matter? No, that's exactly what it feels like. Every single player, if like my team got them, I would say, yeah, seems like a good prospect. It's got some really intriguing characteristics, hopefully a high ceiling, and maybe it'll work out for me. It's like, yeah, I can say that about every single player. There's no one I want to avoid even. Although listening to Kyle Mann and Kevin O'Connor talk about Reese Shea, they made me so frightened of him. Seems like a total bust. I mean, so many of these guys just look like, to me, natural draft busts too. Like Sarr, like, all right, he could be Anthony Randolph. Like Klingon, like an Andres Beatriz. I mean, who's the Reed Shepard? When's the last time there was like a smallish scoring guard. I mean, he doesn't give me Jimmer Fredette vibes. He's a different kind of player. I have to keep the white on white comparison there. Like, who's the comparison? In the playoffs, there are a lot of examples of guys you can get late in the draft. I mean, they're showing Halliburton on the draft right now. You think about Jalen Williams on the Thunder, of course, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. These are all late lottery picks that have absolutely transformed their franchises. Guys you could get late in the lottery. A Devin Booker, RIP with his team, like Devin Booker late in the lottery. Donovan Mitchell still playing late in the lottery. So I think it's always good to repeat the cool thing I think about the flattened odds is like no one has a better than 1-in-7 shot. Like Pistons and Wizards, you get a 14% chance at that top pick. And then it's, you go all the way down to like, the Rockets is like a 6.5% chance. All right. So now we'll go through, maybe we can rank who is the most deserving or the luckiest team representative. The Warriors are represented by Pods, Brandon Pajemski, Keegan Murray, representing the Kings. A lot of players involved. Oh, Ime Udoka there. Stepping up. He always looks incredibly serious and or furious. So Udoka looks furious. Bulls player Julian Phillips. How did Julian Phillips end up there? I was going to say there's a Bulls player I don't recognize. And then when they flashed his name, it was a deeper cut than I could have dreamed. Oh, Thurl Bailey there for the Jazz. I like Thurl. Tayshaun Prince there for the Grizzlies. I'll give you guys a blow by blow. I know a lot of you don't have access even to the broadcast. Scotty Barnes is there for the Raptors. 9% chance at the first pick and a 52% chance of having no pick. I think if my memory of these odds are correct. Everybody in the chat put who you're cheering for, or put which team you cheer for. We'll know who to be happy for. Scoot Henderson there representing the Trailblazers. Scoot's outfit, wearing a jean jacket, a white dress shirt, and a black tie. He looks amazing. We got a Vancouver fan in there. Hey, by the way, thanks, Vancouver, for making that Otis Thorpe trade in 1997. That really worked out great for the Grizzlies franchise. I love Scoot Henderson's outfit. Brandon Miller in the building. He looks unhappy to be there. I guess everyone's just nervous. I don't want to be rude, but can you smile maybe? Bilal Coulibaly looking very fancy. Asar Thompson. So the lottery happened 1 hour ago, which is fun. Just random people have been stuck in a room with their phones confiscated. All right, so here comes the draft. We want the first one to be the Trailblazers. I don't want the Warriors to jump up just because of my own personal cheering things, although it would be fine if it happened. I, of course, have not looked at Twitter because it's going to ruin everything. All right, here we go. Mark Tatum's going to pull out the first one. It's supposed to be the Trailblazers. It is the Trailblazers. No Warriors miracle. That was part of the Marcus Smart trade from the Grizzlies. They sent that pick out. Then the Drew Holiday trade. Trailblazers get the 14th pick from the Warriors. 13th should be the Kings, and it is the Kings. So Kings stay at 13. Next up should be the Thunder, as long as Houston doesn't jump. It is the Thunder. We are so far chalk. No one has jumped. Next up would be the Bulls. One of the teams. I'm okay with the Bulls jumping. It is the Bulls. The Bulls stay where they're supposed to stay. No jump ups now. All right, come on. Hawks would be next. It would be just if the Hawks jumped up. The Hawks did jump up. It is the Jazz picking 10th, a top 10 protected pick. The Jazz keep it. The Hawks have jumped in the top 4. And the Grizzlies are now up. The Grizzlies got picked. They dropped 2 spots. So I believe the Rockets from the Nets have jumped up. The Rockets have jumped up and the Hawks have jumped up. Spurs go to 8. That is from the Raptors, I think. Yeah, the Raptors lost their pick. The Raptors lost their pick, is my understanding. All right, so 7. So after the Grizzlies with the Spurs at 8, the Trailblazers at 7 is a big jump down. The Hornets have fallen to 6th. We have all kinds of fallers. The 5th pick is the Pistons. Oh, the Pistons have the catastrophic biggest drop ever. So the Spurs with their own pick have jumped up. The Wizards are still alive. The Hawks and the Rockets. That Rockets pick is from the Nets. This is incredible. That was extremely exciting. I don't know if you had your second screen on there. My team, the Grizzlies, it was basically the second most likely thing was dropping down to the 9th pick. But the Raptors lost their pick to the Spurs. The Spurs are going to get 2 top 8 picks, which is a big win for them. The Hawks, big jump all the way up from the 10th spot. That was one of the teams I thought was the most ethically just outcomes would be if they jumped up. So I'm honestly excited for the Hawks. Good job by the Hawks there. And then the Rockets getting the Nets unprotected pick. I'm writing this down so I don't forget it. So the teams that did not get super lucky, like the Warriors could have actually kept their pick. They had a 3.5% chance of keeping that pick. They did not. That 14th pick stays with the Trailblazers. The Thunder had a chance to get super lucky and take over the Rockets pick. If the Rockets' own pick had jumped up, it did not. The Thunder stayed at 12, did not get super lucky. The Hawks, who had the 10th worst odds, they were, of course, in the play-in. They jump all the way up into the top 4. The Jazz keep their top 10 pick. Tanking out helped them. If 3 teams had jumped them, they would have lost their pick. But 2 teams did jump them. The Nets, you got to be sick. The Nets, you sent your unprotected first to the Rockets for James Harden back in the day. And now that pick has jumped into the top 4. And so the Rockets are getting a top 4 pick as a result of them trading James Harden. And then the Wizards keep their own pick in the top 4. The Spurs' own pick, who had the 5th best odds, they jump up. I'm okay with these results. I'm not thrilled, of course, that the Grizzlies did not improve their draft pick. However, picking 9th, that's going to save Robert Parra some luxury tax payments, and I care about my owner. That's the kind of fan I am. So we are back from commercial. Oh, we're not back. We're almost back from commercial break. We're going to find out if the Rockets get the number 1 overall pick from the Nets, which I think would be a hilarious outcome. I'm cheering for the Wizards. I feel like the Wizards, they deserve something for what that franchise has been through, even if it was a little bit self-inflicted with the trading for Jordan Poole. Harry Horse with a great comment. The Spurs could get 1 and 2. What do you even do there? I feel like clinging, honestly, with Wembanyama, that could be a good pairing, but it seems like you would go Sar, I think, but then also get maybe like Dillingham or Castle. I mean, the Spurs need everything. They need everything. So, and also Wembanyama can play alongside everyone. So, It'll work out just fine. Bear Cub asking, are we more likely to trade the ninth pick than a top 4 pick? No, I don't know. No, I don't think so. Not necessarily. I think if we got a top 4 pick, the Grizzlies would have been more likely to trade that pick because it's more valuable. I don't know. It's giving you that much for the ninth pick. Also, the Rockets, I believe, were talking about trading their lottery pick now that they're top 4. Will they? So here's our final 4 remaining teams. Again, Wizards, the Spurs, the Rockets via the Nets, and the Hawks. All right, here we go. Number 4 pick. And it could be anyone, of course. There's no longer an order to go through. All right, the Spurs get the 4th pick. So the Spurs end up with the 4th and the 8th pick, I think. The Houston Rockets from the Nets end up with the 3rd pick. Would have been funnier if the Nets gave away the number 1 overall pick. We're down to the Wizards and the Hawks. It is the Wizards at 2. The Atlanta Hawks have won the NBA draft lottery. The Atlanta Hawks get the number 1 overall pick. Draft Sar, trade the Grizzlies on Onyeka Okongwu. Let's do it. Let's shut it down. Let's call it in. Let's have it happen. Landry Fields accepting congratulations from Mark Tatum on the broadcast right now. Atlanta Hawks, I love it. I'm fine with it. They did not tank. They competed all year. The flattened odds pay off. The broadcast is now telling me 49 years between number 1 draft picks. Been 49 years. Who was the last? Was it Bob Pettit? Now I'm Googling Bob Pettit NBA draft. Oh, in 1954, they selected Bob Pettit 2nd, the Milwaukee Hawks. I love the Pistons. The Pistons set the NBA record for the longest losing streak in a season this year, and they did it all for the 5th pick. They did it all for the 5th pick. The Spurs wasted Victor Wembanyama's rookie year for the 4th pick. Good job. The Rockets went for it this year. The Rockets absolutely went for it. They signed veteran free agents in Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. They hired a coach. They said, we do not want to tank again to build around Jabari Smith, to build around whoever, Amen Thompson, Jalen Green. They went and tried to make the play in. They got very, very close. They get rewarded with the 3rd pick. That feels just to me. I'm okay with that. Wizards were horrible. They get the 2nd pick. So that is your NBA draft lottery. I was thrilled. I was exhilarated. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. If you want more analysis of the Grizzlies dropping to 9, I'll have a Grits and Grinds episode coming out on Monday. Subscribe to the YouTube channel of Grits and Grinds if you don't mind. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for Fast Break Breakfast. A new Fast Break Breakfast episode comes out on Tuesday. You guys have a great Mother's Day. I'll see you guys next time.